Oh my god. After watching 3 hours of this shit, of Monday Night Raw, which is August 3rd, 2020 review for Monday Night Raw, I was going into this, and I even hyped it up before the show even went on the air, thinking this was going to be a good show of some sort, that we were going to get some kind of good thing happen. And unfortunately, I got fucking swerved, and anyone else that bought into this shit got swerved as well. Let's talk about it right after this intro music. Oh god, what a fucking joke. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed a little bit of Down with the Sickness with Disturb, because I think this is probably, that probably was the best music to actually use. This show was down for the sickness. It was sickening. It was a sickening show. It started out being promising, and yet there was nothing to it, and it made no fucking sense. Folks, we had vandalism going on backstage, which explained why the tech lighting was flickering on and off. Microphones weren't working for the first hour, and then all of a sudden they started working again, and later on in the show, they actually explained that there was some vandalism going on backstage outside of the Performance Center, and all the production stuff. The equipment that they used for the show was being burnt on fire, yet there was no reveal of who the fuck it was. Then we're getting Shane McMahon providing Raw Underground, which was just a ripoff of UFC, trying to be like MMA, in a very corny fashion, may I add. And no explanation, no reveal of a new faction in WWE. All we get at the end of the show is the Hurt Business beating the shit out of everyone that was at the Raw Underground show in the last hour. What the fuck am I watching? They were saying you are going to see a reveal of a new faction in WWE to cause chaos. There was no reveal. There was nothing. There was vandalism that wasn't resolved. No one found out who did it. They got away with basically a fucking crime, and nothing was done. Nothing was mentioned. I think what my idea was earlier, my earlier video this week, or today, before Raw, was 10 times fucking better than what they delivered here. Undisputed Era should have been shown here, and they weren't. I don't even understand the point of reviewing the show. This show was ruined. This was a fucking waste of time. Nothing on the show made any sense. There was some good stuff on here, I won't deny, but a lot of it was garbage. In the last couple of weeks, I've been saying, it's okay here, it's okay there. There are things I have complained about and so forth. But this was dreadful. This was horrible. I don't understand what the fuck I was watching here. Vandalism? Underground MMA fighting? I thought I was watching professional wrestling, not UFC. I mean, if I'm going to watch UFC, I'll go watch UFC. Not watch it on WWE. It's fucking retarded. Folks, this company is going so far in the shitter, it's ridiculous. The only thing that I can even say remotely that got me highly interested in the push towards SummerSlam was Seth Rollins and Dominic Mysterio's match and the WWE Championship match. Those are the only two matches I'm interested in right now. The rest of the card going into SummerSlam is absolute trash. Complete and utter trash. This is a travesty, folks. This really is a fucking travesty. And how they can say this is good, entertaining programming is beyond me. So, we get the first match of the show to even kickstart it. Holy shit, we didn't even get a promo. We actually got a match. But it was a match with MVP versus Apollo Crews for the United States Championship. Apollo Crews carrying around the old title while MVP had the brand new design U.S. Championship. And MVP loses to Apollo Crews, and he blames it on lighting issues, distracting him to why he lost to Apollo Crews. What a fucking joke. But Apollo Crews wins. Match, I'll give a 3 out of 5 stars. It is a decent matchup overall. After the match is over, Bobby Lashley tries to put in a full Nelson on Crews. He dodges and runs out of town, retaining and retreating with his championship. And he starts getting mad at Tom Phillips about the situation, saying, blaming the commentary team as if they're running the show. They're not running the show. He should be taking that up with Vince McMahon. A lot of the stuff on this show made no sense. Really, none of it made any fucking sense. So we see the MVP request is for a rematch for the U.S. champion, also U.S. championship, also going into SummerSlam. I thought there wasn't any rematch clauses. Apparently, that's been thrown out the window. So we go backstage. We see the role models, the golden role models of Sasha Banks and Bayley. They show a highlight reel of what happened last Monday night with Sasha Banks winning the Raw Women's Championship. Asuka interrupts at the end of it, and she starts going on about how revenge is going to be bittersweet. And the Banks and Bayley are both upset about the interruption in their video. They go on about how unprofessional this is, and Shayna Baszler interrupts and says it looks like they're having fun. Baszler says her problem is how Banks snaked her way to the title. Baszler says she's been waiting for her chance to have some fun. She drops Banks with one shot with a punch to the face, which didn't really connect all that well. It didn't look that believable. And Bayley checks on Banks, but looks like she wants none of Baszler. Baszler walks off, and that's it. And later on in the show, we get Baszler versus Banks. Why the fuck did we get Banks and Baszler? Why? We shouldn't be getting a match like that. She should have went up against someone that's a lower-end talent that they're not pushing, that could job out to Baszler, making her look very dominant. Now, none of this makes any fucking sense. I didn't quite get why they did that. The Iconics approach Kevin Owens backstage, and they want to be guests on a show. He's not interested because he already has a guest. Owens tells them to deal with it and have a bottle of water, and he walks off. So we go straight to the Kevin Owens show, the KO show. He has Ruby Riott come out, and he actually mentions... Well, we also get Shane McMahon before that KO show spot. We also get fucking Shane McMahon talking about a return and blah blah blah, and what he's there for to talk about and what he's gonna do. Microphone goes in and out, having microphone difficulties. He goes on to say he wants to talk about something with a friend of his. He introduces tonight's guest, and out comes Ruby Riott. Ruby Riott's promo here with Liv Morgan, which is what this is all based on, trying to get Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott to become friends again and still work together as a team and still be at least a tag team instead of, since Sarah Logan is out of commission with the WWE and she's no longer employed. Ruby Riott wanted to remain a tag team partner with Liv Morgan and I guess run roughshod through the tag team division, which I'd be totally fine with because Liv Morgan ain't got nothing going for her and neither is Ruby Riott, so I'm all for that. So we get a very emotional speech by Ruby Riott to Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan seems like she's pretty emotional by the speech. Very good job. I was very believable. It was very believable. I was buying into it. They were selling me very well on it. I thought it was good. Then the Iconics come out, upset that they weren't part of the KO show. I don't know why we got fucking Kevin Owens playing Dr. Phil here. But it's getting really aggravating to see this guy not live up to his potential and not be pushed the way he should be. This KO shit where he's playing Dr. Phil and trying to fix relationships and create friction and build up storylines that he ain't even involved in is really getting fucking old for me. And I'm getting tired of this. I think he deserves a hell of a lot better than what he's getting. I mean, 2016 Kevin Owens was way better than this Kevin Owens. I think anything that Kevin Owens did in 2016 is better than this, even though his championship run ended to be a joke by losing to Goldberg, and on top of that, he would only win by cheating and getting disqualified every single time. But at the end of the day, he was doing a lot more then than he is now. Let's just put it that way. Eventually, this whole Ruby Riott, with all this Iconic versus Riott Squad bickering and bullshit, it led to a match. Well, what do you know? There was a brawl during the promo, and then a match was set up. As usual, WWE formulaic bullshit. And the Riott Squad actually gets the win with Liv Morgan pulling up a roll-up pin out of nowhere for the 1-2-3. Big deal. I don't even give it I give it a 1. That's it. The next thing on this show was Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton's promo. Holy shit, did they nail it out of the park with this one. This was fantastic. Drew McIntyre was gold. Randy Orton, gold. And the whole basis and storyline around this to make them have so much friction was outstanding. They bring up about, Randy Orton hears what Drew McIntyre has to say about what he thinks of Randy Orton. Randy Orton asks him what he thinks of him. So he tells him, and he starts telling lines off of what Edge has said and what previous opponents of Randy Orton have said about him. And he says, okay, why don't you be a little bit more original and stop ripping off what other people have said about me and actually tell me what you think from your own heart about who I am as a person. So he goes ahead and he says, okay, you want to shoot? I'll shoot. He goes on to say, well, I've watched Undertaker. And Undertaker's Last Ride documentary. And he points out that Randy Orton said that Undertaker was a helpful guy, a leader, and helped him out of a downward spiral in his career when he first started, and gave him all kinds of advice to help bring him up as a wrestler. And it helped him. And he asked Randy Orton, when did you ever do that for any other wrestler in the back? Did you ever job out to anyone? Have you ever let anyone succeed? Or is it always about you and winning championships and never about allowing others to succeed along with you? And I don't want to get too personal on that because I don't know Randy Orton as a person, but based on his character on TV, he comes exactly that way across to me. So with that comment and based on how he acts as a performer in the ring, on his character, it really is the truth. It really is the truth about Randy Orton. So that is the whole basis around this. And he is talking about how he's going to take Randy Orton and destroy him and rip off his fucking head. I absolutely loved this. This was fantastic. And it's hard for me not to agree with the fact that Randy Orton should win the WWE Championship based on the fact that he's been on a great roll. He has been doing what he did in 2009 and what he's done in the past a couple of years ago. But at the same time, you got Drew McIntyre, who's a younger star, who hasn't had the limelight for a very long time. He's had it for a couple of months, and he hasn't gotten credible wins while champion over other people. His challengers were crap, garbage. Randy Orton is the first big opponent that Drew McIntyre is going to be facing at a major pay-per-view such as SummerSlam, who he will have a legit match with, unlike what he did with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So this is a great opportunity for them to take that ball and run with it and give Drew McIntyre that win. Now, granted, Randy Orton being claimed to be the greatest wrestler of all time, and having him lose to Drew McIntyre kind of hurts it in the long run. So they kind of painted themselves in a corner here where they can't get out of. So they're either going to bite the bullet one way or the other. They're a two-edged sword here. And they're fucked either way they go. Bottom line, I go with the younger talent. I go with Drew McIntyre retaining the championship. And figure out what you're going to do with Randy Orton after that. Because Randy Orton ain't the future anymore. Randy Orton is a guy that needs to put over young stars that they see as potential major stars for the long-term future. And that's what I see in this. So that's the way I look at that. And the promo was fantastic. Great segment. Enjoyed every second of it. And I can't wait when these guys get in the ring. Either way, I will be happy with the end result, but I think Drew McIntyre is the better choice. So, yeah. So backstage, we have Kevin Owens, Ruby Riott, and Liv Morgan. And then we have Ric Flair showing up. He wants to talk with Owens. Flair says everyone on the roster loves Owens, and Owens is trying to help everyone without looking out for himself. Owens defends his actions and helping the Riot Squad because they are his friends. Owens says he's sacrificed friendships to get to the top in the past, but now he wants to be different, a different person. One who people can look up to in the locker room. Owens wants to be what Randy could be. And Flair says he's in Orton's corner, and Owens needs to listen to his advice. They go on, and Flair says maybe Owens could get a title shot like Orton if he listened to Flair. Owen tells Flair to get Orton to meet him in the ring next week, and he will show what he is made of. And Flair taunts him some, and Owens walks off. And that's basically the end of that segment. I do not like the idea that they're putting Owens and Randy Orton in this match. I think this is god-awful wrong. Number one. Number two, Owens could be the first potential contender for the World Heavyweight title on Raw against Orton if they decide to go that route. So putting these two together in a matchup right now would be ridiculous without the title being on Orton. So I think this was a horrible choice. Very bad decision. It's also forcing Orton to have to beat Kevin Owens because you can't have Orton going into the SummerSlam pay-per-view losing. He won't look like a credible challenger or look like someone that's believable if he wins the title. So that won't work either. And it leaves it very predictable on who would win the match. You got to keep Orton winning. Even if you decide to go with Drew McIntyre, you still want to get the fans to think that there's a possibility Orton could win the WWE Championship. Because this really could go either way, I look at it. You could go either way with this as long as Orton continues to win, which I imagine he will. Kevin Owens, on the other hand, I don't see he can afford a loss. He hasn't done anything on the show. If you want to build him up, which he should be, built at least into a challenger for a championship match with Orton, if you decide to go that route, would be a great start for the challengers to go up against Orton. And Kevin Owens is not being pushed in that kind of direction at all right now at this time to even be believable to challenge for the WWE Championship in the near future. So, I don't know about this. This is really a stupid move in my opinion. It's just a way to gain interest in the product. And at the end of the day, they failed on that tonight because they had my interest and they just fucked that up completely. Completely fucked it up. So we go to the ring with Nia Jax. She's on the mic. WWE producer Pat Buck is also there. And Jax is supposedly there to apologize for what she did to Pat Buck. And unfortunately, that did not turn into anything more than a challenge for her to face him in a one-on-one match in the middle of the ring. And he says, well, if you're not willing to apologize, then we ought to take this backstage and discuss this face-to-face. She goes, no, we're going to have a match. You got a problem with that? And she shows the microphone. Well, she says, well, if you got a problem with that, here, tell me what your feelings are. Like right now. And she shoved the fucking microphone in his chest. And he said, look, if you're not going to apologize to me and you're not going to take this backstage for us to discuss this situation, then you leave me no choice but to go ahead and suspend you without pay. I don't believe he gave a specific amount of time. I think it was for a month or something. Possibly, I'm not sure. But for him to be able to do that, I don't know if he even has the capabilities or authority to do that. Which made no sense to me at all. So, whatever on that one. That was fucking shit. And that's pretty much where the show was going right down the fucking crapper. At this point, this is where the show went down the fucking toilet. And I was losing interest. Right after she gets suspended, you got R-Truth running around with the 24/7 championship, which was stolen earlier in the show, while the Hurt Business was being interviewed backstage because MVP was pissed off about losing the U.S. championships he supposedly thought he owned, but didn't, of course. And that was that. So You have R-Truth running around with the fucking championship. You get the triple threat 24/7 championship with Akira Tozawa winning it and Shelton Benjamin not even being in the decision. What a fucking wasted out show I watched here tonight. I hope none of you guys watched this, because if you did, you really wasted your time. And I'm definitely one of them. Already discussed about Shane McMahon's spot. Shane McMahon basically showing off his Raw Underground show. And this also had women that were acting as if they were fucking strippers without stripping. I mean, they were like go-go dancers or some kind of fucking shit. I mean, you had some real wasted out crap that made no damn sense. None whatsoever. I'm serious. This was fucking garbage. And it only gets worse after this. It really does. I couldn't believe this. We had Sasha Banks and Shayna Baszler in a one-on-one match that led to a no contest, I'm assuming. Because Asuka got involved in this matchup, attacking Bayley, so the referee called for the bell for a no contest. What the fuck am I watching, man? This was retarded. Really, this was a god-awful show. But yeah, it was a no contest. The matchup was a... I'm not even giving it any fucking rating. Fuck it. This is a joke, man. Really, I cannot believe I sat through 3 fucking hours watching this shit, thinking this was gonna be good. I swear to you guys, I even had my friend Matt, who comments on this channel all the time, sit through this show, and he stopped watching Raw and SmackDown for a while now. And I was hyping this up, thinking this was a great opportunity to introduce the Undisputed Era, get them to attack Shane McMahon, and have a Triple H versus Adam Cole match one-on-one at SummerSlam, and none of that happened. None of it. They could have based it off the Pat McAfee deal, and him being upset with Triple H, having him have to be involved with some fucking interview like that, and he felt insulted, and all this jazz, and that they're taking over the WWE as a whole, and kind of blending it in what we have said and how pathetic this show has become over the years, and they didn't do any of it. They did nothing. Not a fucking thing. It was very disappointing. I don't even want to sit through and tell you guys for the rest of the show what happened here, because the rest of the show was a joke. You had Angel Garza talking to Demi Burnett from The Bachelor. Like, who the fuck cares and who watches this shit? Who watches The Bachelor? Unless you're some fucking stuck-up broad who has nothing else better to do on a Saturday or Sunday night or whenever the fucking The Bachelor is actually shown on TV. Who the hell knows when it's shown? I don't give a shit. We get Raw Underground, some more highlights of that, what's going on. I mean, I thought it was kind of cool for a moment, but it's a goofy version of, like, MMA. It's ridiculous. It doesn't even have any business on WWE programming or any wrestling company for that matter. It's a joke. Angel Garza versus Angelo Dawkins. This matchup ends with Angelo Dawkins losing to Angel Garza, with Ford actually just collapsing on the outside of the ring. Apparently, later on in the show, it's revealed that he was poisoned of some kind, but after he collapses, Dawkins leans through the ropes and asks Ford if he's alright. Garza takes advantage of this distraction, nailing a dropkick and a kick to the head for the pin and the 1-2-3. We come back from commercial break, though, and we see Montez Ford in the ring with Andrade having a one-on-one match after he was getting excited, like Ultimate Warring it up on the fucking ropes, and then passes out and falls on the floor. As if he was having a seizure, maybe, or which wasn't much of a seizure at all. It didn't look like a seizure, but it looked like for a moment he was going to have one, but he had like a blank stare in his eyes and he collapsed. And then he's fine. When we come back from commercial break, they had a doctor check on him, make sure he was okay, and they cleared him. He seemed like he was alright, and if he was poisoned, why the fuck would he be okay to get back in the ring to perform a match with someone? That made no fucking sense whatsoever. So Angel Garza, Andrade faces Montez Ford. Montez Ford has the match, and again, he Ultimate Warrior it up on the ropes, shaking the ropes, going crazy, or being like Batista, and he collapses again. They stop the match altogether, and the match ends with a no contest as well. What a fucking joke. Really. What a fucking joke. I'm not even giving rankings to these matches anymore. This was a joke. Have the Viking Raiders on the Underground with Eric. Oh my god. Actually looked pretty badass though, I have to admit that. Then we have backstage revealing what happened. Zelina Vega was accused by Bianca Belair that she poisoned him. How she poisoned him, I don't know. They didn't show any footage of her being near Montez Ford. I mean, they could have said he got drugged, but that still wouldn't even worked anyway. Because if you're drugged, you're not going to be able to get back to normal and then instantly go right back to being fucked up again. Makes no sense. It made no sense. The match should have never took place. Period. The match should have never took place. Should have ended right there, and then we could have gone straight backstage later on in the show in a segment where they explain what happened. They could have said he got drugged. They could have slipped a drug in his drink. He's always showing him drinking something, even though we know there's nothing in it. They could have said he was drugged and he collapsed on the floor and made him fall unconscious or some kind of shit, and he ain't doing very well. Could have done some shit like that. Anything. And they didn't do that. Bianca Belair just attacks Zelina Vega, accusing her of doing some horrible shit, which I already mentioned. Basically poisoning him, which made no sense. So the last thing was Seth Rollins getting on the mic and accepting Dominic's challenge. By the way, Dominic had a segment on the show where he issued that challenge, and during that interview backstage, he wasn't too bad on the mic. Sounded pretty genuine, seemed pretty natural, nothing forced, just, doing what he had to do. He had to issue a challenge, and he did it. Seth Rollins accepted. Later on, accused Tom Phillips for being an unbiased journalist as an announcer and thought what he was doing was promoting violence and hyping Dominic to go ahead and promote that violence on him. So he didn't particularly care for that. So Samoa Joe comes out of nowhere, which these two have encountered each other before in late 2019. And now all of a sudden we're reintroducing this back on the show as if these two have never encountered once before. Which made no fucking sense again. Another illogical booking and storyline telling by this company. I don't understand if they're doing this on purpose, which I think they are, or they're just mentally retarded. I can't even tell the difference anymore, and quite frankly, it doesn't really matter at this point. It really is a joke. I don't know. But yeah. So Seth Rollins is pissed off. He says, alright, Samoa Joe, let's get in the ring and settle this. He gets in the ring and Dominic comes out of nowhere with a fucking kendo stick and whips his ass. He beats his fucking ass. And Rollins and Murphy retreat, heading... they headed back into the ring. I'm sorry. So Dominic uses a stick, slams the heels. Dominic hits a 619 on Rollins, and Dominic goes to the top and leaps to the floor with a big splash, taking Murphy and Rollins down at the same time. Dominic returns to the ring and grabs a steel chair, and then standing tall, keeping the ring clear. Rollins and Murphy retreat up the stage, and Rollins takes the mic and says he's had enough. Dominic has jumped in way over his head, but if Dominic wants a fight at SummerSlam, he accepts, and that was basically all there was to it. From there, we go straight back to the Raw Underground segment again. Dolph Ziggler is now performing there. God help us. I don't get this. And then they have the Hurt Business, Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin beat the shit out of a bunch of nobodies in the middle of this ring with no ropes around it. And that's how they end the show, with them beating the shit out of them. Shane McMahon saying there's no rules, it's an anything goes type of show, and you're welcome here anytime, and that's basically it in the end of the show. Folks, there's only one thing to say at a time like this. WWE needs to go hang it up, call it a day, and sell off the fucking product, because they are shit. And I don't know how much more I'm going to do of the main roster reviews, but it's coming close, and it's coming to an end already before the Undisputed Era comes to the main roster. Because this, folks, is garbage. Anyway, at this time, you know what to do. Hit the like button if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel. And, of course, leave a comment down below if you'd like to make any comments about the show, about my commentary, about the show itself, and my opinions. And I'll definitely get back to you on that. And I thank you very much for watching. Have a great night, guys. Bye.